It's the Christmas season, folks, and we're talking about one of the worst Christmas movies ever made. It came out in 1996. It stars none other than America's sweetheart, Hulk Hogan himself. Hope he's not on the naughty list.
Hell yeah, brother. Let's go.
Hulk Hogan is Blake Thorne, and he's definitely naughty. To make his getaway, he's going to make a mockery of the world's most beloved hero.
Do you have a minute?
Welcome to Big Name Bad Movie, the show where we talk about A-list actors and their worst films. I am Cameron.
I'm Joe.
Tell us a little bit about the movie we're talking about today.
This movie came out in 1996, stars Hulk Hogan, as I said. It's called Santa with Muscle. Sorry, the Hulkster. The Hulkster had a couple of drinks. I would say this movie is a weird mashup of kind of a children's movie, but also one of those like quintessential wrestler trying to cross over into a film career movies.
It wants to be a crossover of all those things, but it is none of those things.
This movie is neither a good crossover film. It's not Holly. It's not Jolly. This movie is a giant lump of coal, but it's funny to talk about because this movie does so many things so badly that it ends up being kind of an interesting watch.
For sure.
Right off the bat, we get like the most interesting Easter egg of this entire film, which is that the camera, is kind of panning over the Los Angeles landscape, and we see the credits pop up, and the film is produced by none other than the Wolf of Wall Street himself, Jordan Belfort.
It's been a while. Am I doing it wrong?
Oh no, you're doing it correctly.
Okay, all right.
And
anyway.
yeah, so like there had to be at least some quantity of Quaaludes on set to make this movie because it is that insane.
Yeah, that we should have also had some Quaaludes when we were watching this movie
to make it slightly more bearable.
Yeah.
The basic premise of the film is that there's a rich guy named Blake Thorne, played by Hulk Hogan, and he has amnesia. He wakes up thinking he's Santa Claus and he has to save an orphanage.
Yeah.
We meet Hulk Hogan's character, Blake Thorne. He's in the middle of like karate combat with his employees, like his chef, his butler, his chauffeur. They're all like fighting him sort of like a Green Hornet style, like Kato.
He uses them essentially as punching bags, I guess, in a way. Because it's like he tests himself by like storming his own house, I guess, right?
Yeah, he's a tactical bro. He's one to keep,
he's like
up
a
on
doomsday prepper type guy.
Yeah, and
it seems like
he's apparently become rich off of like protein supplements. And
is that what it is?
Yeah, did you see like his face was on all these protein bottles?
I knew that, but I thought that was just like his way of. I feel like they don't really ever tell you why he is like got his wealth, because the protein powder thing feels like the thing that he did after he got his wealth. I don't know.
Could be. I read it as he's like a weird fitness influencer.
Sure.
Could be.
In the 90s.
Yeah, something like that. As all of these employees are fighting him and he's punching them in the like full force in the face, they all like clap and they're like, "Good job, Blake. Like you kicked all of our asses." And they're just like, "Ha." It's a great, if this movie was a different movie, it's a great metaphor for capitalism, I think. It's a great metaphor for the working class. The movie doesn't take it there.
It does not.
They show the badly designed protein powder that he sells, and then
it
Blake
looks like painted on. Like it does not look like they got products printed off. Like he has cereal as well that are like his version of Wheaties or whatever.
Yeah.
But it looks like somebody drew in crayon like a picture of Hulk Hogan on a product. Like it's so cheap looking.
It is.
It's so bad.
But also not the most outlandish, because we're talking 1990s here. Hulk Hogan's face is plastered on everything at this point. Not just political rallies. Blake is like, let's play some paintball, boys. So he's a grown man and he's like, let's get all the boys together and play some paintball. They hop into like a full-blown H1 Hummer, like military grade Hummer, and they're chasing each other through the streets of Los Angeles, shooting paintball at each other.
Yeah, they're acting like it's like a small town, but it's like this is very clearly like in LA or like in a neighborhood in LA. It's like it's would be a very populated area, but there's nobody around. It's like a ghost town.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because they're endangering the general populace. They catch the attention of the authorities, who begin pursuing Blake and company as he's shooting his paintball gun. And they treat, as the cops are chasing him and there's this car chase through LA, they treat it as if Blake is like a domestic terrorist.
Yes.
Like it's like an APB
he calls
is out.
him terrorist multiple times.
Yeah, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's a great character actor who plays the cop. He's in everything. We'll show him on screen, put his name up. He's pursuing Blake. They're hot on his trail, and Blake's like, I gotta lose these guys. Instead of doing what I think is like the more douchey, normal rich guy thing that would build his character a little bit, which is like the cops pull him over, he bribes them or does something to flex his authority.
I thought that's what they were going to do as well.
And they don't. He's like, I really need to shake these police officers. The most reasonable response to that is to just duck into the local mall, shopping mall, around Christmas time. Because this is indeed a Christmas movie.
After all.
It is. He ducks into the shopping mall, and in order to escape the cops are hot. They're like bumbling idiot cops are chasing him, and he's like, oh, I'm going to dress in a Santa costume to like avoid the cops. So he ducks into a closet in the mall. He puts on a Santa costume, and then when he pops back out, the police are like, sir, have you seen this guy in camo?
This is like a very small thing. It doesn't really matter, but they treat him like he is Santa. He's like, oh, Santa, thank you for your service. It's like, what you're an adult. Like,
stolen valor, dude. Stolen valor.
Like, yeah, he is. He's stealing Santa's valor. You're right.
He is. Every adult in the movie pretends that he's the real Santa, which is, like you said, it doesn't totally matter, because if it is a kid's movie, you don't want to blow the whole like Santa not being real thing, spoiler alert, but it feels like very disingenuous to these characters specifically.
Well, and it's also because we've talked about, since watching this movie, it clearly wants to be a kindergarten cop type movie.
Yes.
But one of the things about that movie is like Arnold Schwarzenegger is like this bit larger than life guy, right? But everyone around him is like the stuff around him is funny, but like the adults around him are acting like somewhat normal, I guess, and he just looks like funny by comparison, right? But in this movie, everyone is just an idiot and is like not living in reality.
Yeah.
It feels like otherworldly. I don't know.
It's like, I heard a great thing one time that's like, the way you do comedy is you have one of two options. Either you have a very heightened character in a normal world, or you have a very normal character in a heightened world. And either one of those is really funny. And if you think about any great like screwball comedy, that's always the case. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think about like the Hangover, for instance, which is like one of the most successful, marketable comedies of all time. Not my favorite, but I think the thing that makes the comedy work, at least on a mass market scale, is that you have these very heightened characters doing these insane things in an otherwise normal world. Like, if it was normal to run into Mike Tyson and his tiger, the movie wouldn't work from a comedy perspective. This movie is not funny because they try to make the Hulkster both the heightened element, and yet the world around him is heightened, so then it all just feels the same.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, whereas with Kindergarten Cop, you have Arnold, who's like this total straight man in this like very screwball funny situation.
Yeah.
After they run into Santa and he manages to evade the cops, he's running down the hallway because they spot him. They're like, oh, you must be the guy. He's running down the hallway. He bangs his head on a corner, and Blake gets amnesia. And so he's in the Santa costume, and now he's like forgotten who he is. We then meet Lenny, who is played by Don Stark. Great character actor. Shout out to Don Stark. He honestly is like the Anthony LaPaglia of this movie, I think.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Shout out Donna's dad.
Yeah, he was in that 70s show, which we'll have another little tie in there in a little bit with another actor.
Yeah, true, yeah.
But I like Don Stark. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to give me all of these like really shitty B movies that were like straight to DVD or like straight to VHS.
They come in like the little thin cases as well. Yeah.
It's like a pack of like 250 movies that all cost like $250 to make. And Don Stark was in so many of these low budget movies, and I think he's always he's funny. He does his job really well, and he plays this bumbling mall elf, like Santa elf at the mall, who owes money to like an evil villain named Ebner Frost. And
he's probably the best performance in this movie, honestly.
For sure. He's the only one who has any comedic chops whatsoever to like, especially for a kids movie, he fits the kids movie goofy guy vibe really well.
Like he could be in Home Alone and like, hold his own.
Yeah, Don Stark's the man.
Well, he pulls his wallet out, right? And he realizes who it is. He's like, I guess, like an Elon Musk type. Hulk Hogan is. He's like this super rich guy.
Blake Thorne? Richest man in 10 states?
And so he's like, oh, I'm going to steal all of his money and like trick him into thinking he's Santa Claus.
Yeah. Which is a pretty good plot because Blake completely falls for it immediately and is like, like, wait, what? He's like looking in the mirror. He's like, Lenny's like, look in the mirror. Like, who else could you be? You have to be Santa. And Blake's like, I guess I am Santa.
But he also does it like it's very that. I think we've already addressed it. I can't remember what we've recorded and what we haven't, honestly, since we've started talking about this movie. But like he sometimes thinks like he's delusional enough to believe he's Santa Claus, but then he's like, no, but like I'm just a normal guy, and then like also everyone around him acts that way as well. It's very
treats
like,
him as if he is Santa Claus.
Yeah. It's very odd.
It's incredibly weird. So because Lenny takes all the money out of Blake's wallet, he then leads him out into the main mall area where everyone's waiting for Santa, and Lenny like plops him down in Santa's throne and is like, hey, now you got to like entertain these kids. And so then we have a sequence which feels like the first big missed opportunity of like comedy, which is that we have a long sequence of Hulk is sitting there, Blake Thorne's sitting there dressed as Santa, and kids are getting on his lap and asking him, like, he's asking them what they want for Christmas, and it's just not funny at all.
Mm-hmm.
Smile.
I wanted to contrast this a little bit with the scene from Kindergarten
Yeah.
Cop, which is really funny, where Arnold is like, okay, we're going to play a game called Who is Your Daddy and What Does He Do?
Iconic.
Okay, we start right here. You.
My dad repairs wrecked cars driven by women who are pinheads.
Arnold plays the straight man to these kids being really goofy, cute kids, and it's really funny. And we'll throw in a clip of that.
Yeah.
And this is a scene where you could totally, this is 6 years after Kindergarten Cop comes out, just rip that scene off. Have the kids be goofy and be kids and not know what's socially acceptable. And
yeah, it's like they were given a couple lines to say and they do, and then Hulk Hogan, in contrast, is like oscillating between being annoyed with the kids but also like acting like he's like being jolly old Saint Nick. Like, it's like, what is the character supposed to be now? Because we've established him as this like narcissist, but when he has amnesia, all that goes out the window.
yeah, he's suddenly a good guy who might believe he's Santa.
Yeah.
As Blake is sitting there being Santa Claus for these kids, a couple of thugs cross over to the
Some riffraff.
a couple of hoodlums. They cross over to a booth where a woman is taking donations for the local orphanage, the local children's home mission place, and she's fallen asleep at the desk. And so these guys are like, we're gonna rob the donation box. So they steal them. They start taking the money, and doesn't someone shout like, Santa, Santa, and he perks up as if Santa is like this mall Santa is equipped to stop like criminals in their tracks.
Yeah.
And he perks up.
I mean, I'll give him a pass for that. Like a kid at Christmas time being like Santa is a hero. I don't know.
You're right. Okay. Blake stands up, sees the hoodlums, crosses over to them, and is like, hey, unhand that money, chumps. And they're like, beat it. And the guys stand up and they're like, what are you going to do, Santa? Give me a lump of coal? Again, it's a children's movie. I'm caught a little off guard. He goes, how about two, motherfucker? And punches the guy twice in the face.
And that's the thing. This is like very clearly a kid's movie, and we'll obviously play the audio, right? Where you can tell they like muffled it, but clearly he's saying motherfucker.
Yeah. They can squeak by with a PG rating.
So do you think that is like Hulk Hogan just couldn't help himself and he just accidentally blurted out motherfucker? Or do you think they were originally intending to do like a bad Santa type movie and then just, I don't know, scrap that idea?
I like to believe that Hulk is such a bad actor that he can't help but saying motherfucker. But even in the most like inappropriate scenes where it's like, Santa, what's the meaning of Christmas? He's like, it's peace and love, motherfucker.
I mean, I unironically think that that's a more likely scenario than them planning to make like a dirty bad Santa type movie.
Yeah, because this movie is so clearly a kid's movie.
Yeah.
I will say though, Hulk's performance, top to bottom, is abysmal in this film.
So bad.
He has the charisma of a wet paper towel. He does not know how to deliver any line of dialogue. It's not even the endearing lack of charisma that Arnold has, where it's like, because of like his very thick accent and because of his sort of robotic mannerisms and stuff, like Arnold can still carry a scene and be enjoyable to watch, even if he's playing a straight man who's like very straightforward. Hulk has.
He's also just in better things overall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Arnold's made pretty great career choices in terms of picking movies in general.
Yeah.
And funny comedies, and he's gotten a lot of funny comedies. Hulk never really had a big film that I know of, and there's a good reason for that.
Hey, he had one big film if you think about it.
Oh, can't find that one online anymore. I think that one had a budget of $140 million. Anyways, after he punches these criminals, everyone applauds. They're like, "Oh, Santa, you saved the day." And then Lenny, seeing an opportunity, like, "Oh, this guy can like really hit people." Lenny, the elf man, played by Don Stark.
Well, he also, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but the reason that he is like sticking around Blake Thorne rather than just abandoning him because he got his wallet is because he has to, I guess, like have the ATM has a fingerprint scanner. Every ATM has a fingerprint scanner in this movie, and in
1996.
Yes, yeah, that did seem a little weird to me. I'm like, is that actual? I don't know. I'm like, maybe they had something.
Feels a little
like
sci-fi
that.
to me.
It feels a little. I mean, this is basically Blade Runner if you think about it. But anyway, he needs his fingerprint in order to access his bank account, basically, and that's why he's sticking around and trying to like, I guess, like get his money, but he forgets about it along the way at some point. I don't know. But that's the reason that him and Lenny are like, you know, stuck together in this movie.
Yeah, and so their relationship is very odd. And now Blake is like very driven after seeing like this orphanage booth at the mall. He realizes like, oh my gosh, the orphanage is about to close down. They need donations. So we have like a big call to action. He sees the graph, you know, that says like,
wait,
how much.
Lenny just says that or Santa?
Blake Thorne, Santa. Yeah.
Okay.
Sees that the orphanage is about to close down, and he's like, we need to save this orphanage. So Lenny's sort of, like you said, kind of thrust into following Blake wherever he goes. Blake ends up showing up to the orphanage, and we meet our cast of kid characters, including none other than Mila Kunis as a child, and we meet the staff that runs this orphanage. Mila Kunis might be the only competent actor in this film other than Don Stark.
Yeah.
Ed Begley Jr. is obviously good in things.
Sure,
his character's so bad though you wouldn't be able to tell.
And the guy, I don't know his name, but the guy who is like over the orphanage has been in other things.
The older guy.
He's been fine. But she's given it her all. I mean, you know.
The kids in this movie are really bad though.
Yeah.
Other than her.
Yeah, the one girl I realized apparently she's Ducky in The Land Before Time.
Really?
I was like, I recognized her voice.
She has a very distinct voice.
Yeah.
This is where we end up meeting our main supervillain of the movie, Ebner Frost. And the way we meet him, he is, I don't know, how would you describe who Ebner Frost is?
Well, he's like a germaphobe, and that's why he has a bunch of like henchmen or whatever doing his dirty work. I guess in this first scene we see him in, he's like having his henchmen who are like disgraced scientists try and get this one guy to like sell his property or something, right?
Yeah, because like Ebner Frost is trying to buy up all the local land, like all the small businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
And this guy,
do we know why at this point?
We don't know why. We just know that Ebner is like trying to like buy up, like he's trying to buy this guy's shoe store, and so they have him strung up upside down.
Yeah, and he has like a map, and he's trying to buy up all these places in this one area. And by way of like torturing people into selling to him.
Yeah. And we don't know where he got his money. We don't know what his motivation is. We just know he's kind of like a mad scientist guy, but also kind of a corporate wizard trying to like buy up all this property. They have this shoe store owner hung up upside down, and Ebner has sent out his henchmen. When we meet the henchmen, I'm like, what movie am I watching now? It gets really weird really fast.
They're so over the top for no reason at all. Like the one guy, he looks like the mole man from Atlantis, the Disney movie Atlantis. He doesn't talk. He like laughs and chuckles or whatever. And then you have the other girl who's got like electric hands or whatever.
She has like superpowers or something.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they're like Despicable Me villains, but they don't really do. I don't know. It's just
don't forget odd. Mole Man's like superpower or his like henchman ability is that he like squirts stinky gas in people's face.
Oh, right. That's what it is.
I like to think of it as nature's perfume.
When they show up to the orphanage, henchmen show up and
they pull an Antifa. They're for some reason they're pulling down the statue in front of their orphanage of someone. I don't know who the statue is.
I think because the orphanage is a mission. I think it's a saint or one of the people that founded the mission. And the villains.
The woke left strikes again, dude.
Classic Antifa move.
Pulling these statues down of our heroes.
They want to erase our history.
Exactly. That's why I don't remember who the statue was.
Because they erased the history.
they tore it down.
Is this what radicalized Hulk Hogan?
Oh, dude, yes.
Enough was enough!
He watched this movie back alone in his basement one day, and he was like, "Oh, I got to do something about this."
Run wild, brother! Yeah! My hero!
Blake ends up fighting off the evil villains and like beating them up, and then they run off, and then the orphanage kids are like, "You saved the day! Like you fought off these evil villains." I don't know at this point why they haven't just called the police if they're getting harassed and vandalized so aggressively by like this group of adults who are torturing this children's home. And they're just like, I guess we can't do anything about it. Like, I guess we can't report them to the authorities or anything.
Clearly, the cops have the resources.
We're waiting. Yeah. Clearly. They've done a high-speed chase through the center of downtown LA.
Well, I was referring to later in the movie.
Yeah. There's some heavy weaponry that pops out later in the film that we will definitely discuss. After he saves the orphanage, the two directors, the girl from Star Trek, can't remember her name, and the older gentlemen are like, why don't you just come live with us and these kids? Like, hey, two guys dressed as Santa and an elf, like grown, semi-homeless, we're assuming grown men. Why don't you come live with these children? And they're like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, because for some reason there's only 3 children left, and initially you're like, really, is this just the budget of this movie? But the way that they explain that they only have 3 children at the orphanage is that they are in the process of shutting down, but they have somehow gotten all the children adopted. Like, all of them have been adopted. I'm like, oh,
except for these
that's
kids.
great. Like, you got the entire orphanage adopted. That's awesome. But obviously it's framed poorly because there's these 3 kids who are the leftovers, right?
Yeah. And to be completely honest, they're just kind of shitty kids.
Yeah.
Nobody would want these kids.
They suck. But no, yeah. But like you were saying, for some reason, these people, not knowing who these guys are, just allow them to sleep in the same house as these 3 orphan children. It's creepy as hell.
It is weird. And there's this one little girl, the girl who does the voice of Ducky in Land Before Time. She is named Elizabeth, and she has this like heart-to-heart in the chapel with Blake. And she explains the meaning of Christmas to him, and his heart grows 3 sizes, and he realizes, I don't have to.
The windows start like fluttering. She sings, and like there's like strobe lights coming through the windows,
and like they're making it clear that like there's something magical about this orphanage. The Christmas magic starts emanating from the stained glass, and he's like, oh, like he realizes that he truly does know the meaning of Christmas, and he kind of realizes, I'm not Santa Claus, but I can still be a hero. It's kind of his turning point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, whether he believes he's Santa or not is honestly inconsequential for the movie.
Totally, and it's very vague. Talk to me about the costuming choice here.
Okay, so yeah, at this point,
because he has a transformation now.
I can't remember at what point he does transition, but he's wearing the mall Santa outfit, and then at some point he gets into this like village people like leather daddy outfit of Santa Claus. He's got the sleeves ripped off. But he's still got like the stitching, like the white, fur or whatever. And he's wearing these.
There was a talented seamstress that made this costume for sure.
Clearly not just something like strung together at an orphanage. He has like these red tights on, this black utility belt, and these great leather gloves.
Yes.
That are like, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but there's this guy on Instagram Reels that like he does like leather ASMR, and like he wears these exact gloves, and he's like like you hear the leather, and that's what literally the exact.
It becomes obvious this movie has to be taking place in San Francisco at this point. Like there's no way it isn't.
True.
Leather Daddy Santa is in full effect now, and Blake does like an interview with the local news station too, and we'll have to just throw up a clip. I'm not even going to describe it. It's the perfect encapsulation of how bad Hulk Hogan's performance is here, because he's like, I'm gonna do, like, it's so awkward and cringy how he's delivering these lines.
Reindeer. The reindeer brought me here.
So they come back. The Antifa comes back. Hulk Hogan beats the shit out of him, and then I guess the kid is like, I'm gonna get revenge for some reason, even though like Hulk Hogan clearly like got it. You know what I mean?
Got
he like beats him up. Whatever. They leave. The kid, wanting to retaliate further, goes to what's his name? Abner Frost's house, and is like, he has his little slingshot, right? And he's gonna like shoot a rock through his window. And Hulk Hogan comes up like, "Violence is never the answer, brother." It's like, you just got done beating the shit out of these people. Like, what do you mean?
You've consistently committed acts of domestic terrorism, and now you're having a heart to heart with this child. Like, no, we use our words.
Brother, that's where I draw the line.
It's where I draw the line. He gets the intel because they're like peeking through the window and they see, oh my gosh, Ebner Frost is targeting all these businesses. And then Hulk Hogan realizes, like, oh my gosh, he wants to destroy this orphanage or at least buy it or something. He's targeting the orphanage specifically. And so he turns to the kids and Blake's like, okay, so why would he want this shitty ass orphanage? And the kids are like, oh yeah, there's like a magical crystal mine underneath the orphanage.
No, they don't know that. They don't know that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They don't know that. They're like, we hang out in these catacombs under the church, and it looks fucking terrifying. Yeah. And it like turns into a horror.
Like,
it reminded
we play
me of,
down here.
Yeah, it reminded me of maybe it's just because I watched Final Prayer recently. It's a found footage movie about like these guys who investigate a haunting at a church, and they go into these catacombs, and it's terrifying. Maybe that's why I was like already like just off put by it. But I'm like, this is not a place where children would want to hang out. This looks like a horror movie.
No, yeah, it's really freaky. He asked the kids like, what's special about it? When they take him down there, like, we play in these catacombs. There's like a vault thing or something.
But they don't know how to get in it. They somehow know the first 3 numbers, but they don't know the 4th number. And he just does miraculously.
It's a Christmas miracle, dude.
Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle. So they open it up. There's all these like
Kyber crystals. There's
a bunch of Kyber crystals. Abner Frost wants to make lightsabers. That's what we found out.
When they go inside, it's so weird because it's like, wait, I don't know. Even for a kids movie, this feels like too outlandish. Like, why magical crystals? Why not?
Yeah,
like,
just make them regular jewels.
Regular jewels, or like, I mean, something as simple as like, oh, there's a gold mine, there's oil underneath
There's a
it.
gold mine, old man Rivers treasure, you know, whatever.
Something. Even like Goonies style pirate treasure feels better than.
It's a Withers. I said Old Man Rivers. I don't know what that is. Sorry.
Come on, dude.
Sorry.
This is a movie podcast.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be authorities on these subjects.
Yeah, I know. I don't know
anything would feel better than magical Kyber crystals underneath a church.
Yeah, it's like, why does it have to be something so like fantastic? Like, why does it have to be a fictional? I'm assuming those aren't real. Am I stupid? Like, that's not real, right?
I think you are stupid. Those are definitely not real.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'm like, wait.
The magical glowing energy crystals?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I would think most crunchy woo-woo girls think they are real.
That's true, yeah.
But no, these are not.
That's why the vibes are immaculate in this movie, because they're all crystal mommies.
It's all rose quartz. There's just like a good energy in the space.
It's minerals, Marie.
This is not a rock. This is a mineral for like the 10th time.
The henchmen, Antifa, Sonic the Hedgehog villains show up, and there's like a big confrontation in the mine, and they show up, and there's this huge like fight, a bunch of fight scenes that take place. Just a side note, I feel like the fight choreography here, especially given like Hulk's level of experience, the one thing I would want is like some really cool kid action scenes.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, dude, the Hulkster's been in the ring for like 15 years at this point, doing the coolest shit. Like, he flips guys over. He like jumps from high heights. Like, he's very well trained in combat.
I thought they were gonna do something like that, because there's later on in the movie, there's a doctor who's like part of their like little group that is clearly like a fellow WWE guy. Yes. You probably know who I'm talking about. He's like a white guy with a Fu Manchu, you know. But they don't do anything with that. He just rips his shirt off, and like Hulk Hogan like throws a pew at him or something. The guy, the slimy like Professor Snape looking guy, like I guess knocks him off the building or something, and he lands in a trash truck, but somehow he gets his memory back. Yeah, Hulk Hogan gets his memory back, but he's still a good guy. He's like, I realize there's not like a Scrooge moment or whatever, but he just is a good guy now. Yeah. And so he, I guess, goes back, right? He goes back to the church.
He goes back to his mansion first.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he's like, hey, all of my employees who are probably working minimum wage, like all of you guys who like I'm constantly beating up, like my butler and my chef,
for some reason like him, like worship him because he's just that cool.
Hey, employees, we're going to go risk our lives and storm this local mission orphanage, and we're going to kick some ass. And they're all like, let's do it.
Yeah, because the scientists are like held up there. They're trying to get into the vault, and they put like little mining outfits onto the children because, as we all know, children do yearn for the mines.
They do.
So that was good, actually. I thought was like, you know, putting those kids to work.
Yeah, that was a cool villain moment for sure.
Yeah, it was righteous.
It was
as well.
It was righteous, definitely.
Yeah, they do yearn for the mines after all. So anyway,
when Blake goes like with all of his henchmen and shows up, we get some more like over the top wild combat, including like a confrontation with like Electricity Girl. Again, the supervillain henchman we've mentioned earlier, who can like just shoot lightning out of her hands and stuff for no apparent reason, and he's like confronting her. It's science, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the power of the crystals. We don't know. She's there in the church, and she's like shooting energy beams out, and then Hulk's like, "How am I going to defeat her?" And then Lenny pops up from over the balcony and dumps a bucket of water on this lady, and then she just brutally electrocutes herself and dies.
Yeah.
Like just falls dead in the center of the church.
I can't remember if she's like alive later in the movie, but she shouldn't be, because that would have definitely killed her. She has like electricity like emanating from her body.
It's very like Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's very like Palpatine.
It is very Palpatine. Yeah.
And so then Lenny is like, "Sorry, I stole your wallet. Like, I didn't mean to steal your wallet, and I'm a good guy now too." And then he like gives the wallet back to Blake, and he's "We're friends now." And Blake's like, "You know what? We are friends." And then Don Stark is like, "You're not gonna hug me, are you?" I just like that line.
Yeah.
After all of this, Blake is like searching for the rest of the henchmen to go kick their asses, and I love the detail that he just kicks through every single door in the space.
Hell yeah, brother.
Like actively disrespecting the mission, like not even concerned about property damage.
Yeah.
He's just like, every time a door is like in front of him, he just kicks it open like super aggressively, and it explodes.
The two orphanage directors, or whatever you call them, are just like in a room, like not even like tied up or anything interesting like that. Like they're just sitting down, like enjoying a nice winter evening or whatever. He just kicks the door down for no reason.
It is sick as hell though.
Yeah,
that he's kicking all these doors down, but it doesn't make any sense. He fights Ebner. He ends up finding Ebner Frost in the Crystal Caves with the children mining, and he like fights him. But instead of like having a normal fisticuffs battle, Hulk Hogan style, they both grab like large crystal things.
To your point about kyber crystals,
and they basically have a lightsaber battle in the crystal mines. It feels like the weirdest choice for combat whatsoever. I guess maybe it's to communicate that Ebner like stands a chance in the battle because he's like got some distance between him and Hulk.
Right, because he's clearly like an older man who's not. He's no Santa with muscles.
No,
you know
he's
what I
not.
mean?
He's not Jack like this.
Yeah, no.
They end up fighting until eventually they conjure so much magical crystal energy that they manage to escape narrowly, and the entire orphanage.
Me when I'm trying to manifest more subscribers on this channel. We channel too much magical crystal energy.
Oh my god! And they end up fighting with the pseudo lightsabers until the orphanage just fucking explodes.
Yeah.
I want to rewind for 2 seconds to say this is the second wild explosion in this movie. The first is as
right.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god, I forgot.
As Blake is heading back to the orphanage, I'm being totally serious here. We'll have to insert a clip. As he's heading back to the orphanage, the cops like catch him again, and they're like, "Oh, that's him. That's the guy that we're like looking for." And so one of the local PD guys grabs a rocket launcher in the middle of a populated street and is like, they're like, blow him up. And so you see
they don't even like pull out their guns and like freeze, like stop.
Nothing.
They like barricade or like, you know, create a blockade in the road. But then he still pulls out the fucking rocket launcher, dude. It's crazy.
Blows up a cop car by accident. It's awesome. So we've got two wild explosions already. I love that detail. Now he's completely leveled this orphanage. It no longer exists, but the bad guys have been subdued, and Hulk has saved the day. Blake Thorne is our hero. Not to mention that he's just destroyed everything about this mission. And
everything these kids own, like all their stuff,
everything.
But my thought was like, okay, He's like this rich billionaire type, right? Okay,
Yeah.
he's realized the error of his ways. He's a good guy now.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna like build a new orphanage. We're gonna allude to them building it, and the kids are gonna stay with him at his massive house while that is happening. Nope. They just make the kids squatters at Abner Frost's house.
Yeah. He's like, I know a place you guys can stay. It's not my house.
Yeah. No. What?
No.
Ew, gross.
Come on, kids. You smell
Pores? Gross. I'm not that reformed, all right?
I also want to point out the detail that this is a Christmas movie, and so far the main thing that's happened in it is they've destroyed a church.
Yeah.
It just feels like a weird...
And that's like the win. Like that's the winning moment. Is when he like accidentally blows up a church.
the birth of our Lord and Savior. And we've destroyed a church. That's our happy ending. And then you see the kids running around, and Lenny
all the kids have been unadopted. There's more. There's a bunch of kids running around.
I think they probably got returned.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took the kids back, unadopted them, and they
were on layaway.
You're living in the orphanage again.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of kids running around the orphanage, and Lenny's sitting there like tanning. And so I guess he lives at the orphanage now.
Yeah, because he's just suddenly not a like shitty guy.
He's like, I'm gonna keep living with these kids. Why not? That's our happy ending, and that's Santa with Muscles, 1996, starring Hulk Hogan.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
Santa with Muscles.
There's a new Santa in town, and I know if you've been naughty or nice.
In general, how familiar have you been historically with Hulk Hogan himself? Are you familiar with his films, with his work as a wrestler?
Not really at all.
You just like you're a
the
poser?
first time I've thought about him in years was at the RNC when he ripped his shirt off.
Dope.
Yeah.
Absolute legend of a move. It's so I know everybody makes the comparison. It's such an idiocracy move that I'd like kind of unironically.
I mean, literally, he looks like like Terry Crews's character in Idiocracy in that moment.
Personal life aside, I do think if he had a shred of acting ability, he was perfectly set up in the 90s to become like a dominating acting star.
Definitely.
And I have to say, he was... A couple fun facts about his wrestling career. I believe he still holds the titles for being like the longest reigning like WWF or WWE champion. He might have been overtaken by Roman Reigns, I don't remember, but he for a long time was like the undisputed king of wrestling. He's still regarded as like the most famous wrestler to ever live. Like The Rock is famous in his own right as a movie star now, but in terms of wrestling careers, like it begins and ends with like the Hulkster. Like he was perfectly set up to
John Cena. I know nothing about WWE, so
John Cena. Well, in the modern era, like John Cena is definitely popular, and then but like you have like Roddy Piper is like another really would be like a really prominent guy from the same era. Ric Flair obviously had it, but nobody had the staying power and the merchandising power of Hulk Hogan. He, his real name Terry Bollea. He had like a very interesting trajectory before wrestling. For one, he was a pretty accomplished musician. Like he's a very talented fretless bassist. He was like a big punk guy in the Florida scene. Ended up getting into wrestling, and then Vince McMahon Sr. kind of gave him the moniker of like Hulk Hogan. He's like, hey, this is like really marketable. They got behind him because he had incredible athletic talent. He was obviously huge. His matchups with like Andre the Giant and stuff like were iconic and really catapulted the WWF into the mainstream in like a new way. He was the bankable star. In 93, I want to say, he took a hiatus from wrestling to focus on his acting career and made a string of movies that just never went anywhere or did anything.
Yeah, this movie was only available on YouTube. For the record, it might be
unless
on
we
something else.
You could purchase it physical media, but like obviously we're not going to spend our hard-earned money on.
We don't have that kind of time.
Yeah,
but
Santa
yeah,
Muscles.
also that.
To me, I just think it's really funny how spectacularly he had to flop as a movie star to go from the amount of star power he had to literally not being able to make movies.
Yeah, and it's like different from like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He like comes from an acting situation, right? Like the WWE.
Yeah.
Not real, like
sure.
everybody knows it's not real. Like, you
have to have performance chops
right,
to,
exactly.
to survive
that's
in that
what I'm
industry.
Getting at.
Yeah.
It's like you have to like have some sort of like charisma and things like that. But And maybe it was just like the projects that he signed on for that were just like not great from the jump, like not good direction, things like that. But I mean, in this movie particularly, it's just like his charisma, like he has the charisma of a wet blanket. Like it's crazy.
It's really bad. And also I'll say he had a fantastic cameo in Rocky 3, steals the scene. He's amazing in Rocky 3. We'll have to put a clip of that.
Ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball.
But the thing about Rocky 3 is he's doing his Hulk Hogan character. He's doing his beloved character. He does that really well. It's
arguably because he just is that guy, like that like douchebag weirdo,
yeah, maybe
full of himself guy.
But either way, he does it really well, and people love it. They love this like overconfident, hyper masculine, hyper aggressive guy. And in Santa with Muscles, for some reason, I don't know if it was his creative choice or the directors, producers, maybe it was Jordan Belfort's choice. I don't know. They don't have him doing that at all. He's not that character at all. He's trying to be more of like a Tony Stark kind of guy, and it doesn't work because you have to have some real acting chops to do that, and he doesn't have them.
Not at all. Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. I want to contrast a little bit between I don't know. Are you a fan of The Rock or Dave Bautista? Any of these other wrestler turned actor guys?
Oh, you know, I mean, The Rock, he's a complicated guy. I mean, there's all that stuff that came out. Speaking of Christmas movies, he was in Red One this year.
Yep.
There's all that weird stuff that came out about him on set of that movie, pissing in bottles and making people throw them away and
Gross.
things like that. Yeah, disgusting. Showing up late, adding like millions upon millions of dollars to the budget unnecessarily because of his like, you know, just like not being there, basically, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, you know, he donated like a lot of money during like the Actors Guild strike and stuff like that. So I don't know. Like he's a complicated guy. I realized you weren't asking me about him as a person.
No,
more so as like a performer. Again, don't know anything really about the WWE. But I've only really mostly known him as an actor.
Sure.
I guess, you know. I don't know. How do you feel about him as an actor?
You know, I feel like The Rock does one thing really, really well, and I think there's something to be said about that. Like, I think it's easy to kind of like go, like you only play the same character every time. It's like there are plenty of actors who play the same character every time, and if people like that character, I mean, I kind of lump The Rock in with that. He's not an actor; he's a movie star, and I think there's a big difference.
Yes.
I think he's good at being a movie star. I think he has enough charisma to carry scenes. Obviously, he doesn't have range. We don't have to, you know, or doesn't have a lot of range. I do.
Have you seen Ballers?
I haven't seen Ballers.
Oh,
No.
God,
Is it bad?
It's terrible. It's like, I don't know, like it's like a bro guy's version of like what a smart TV show is, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Succession for guys who like invested a lot of money into Dogecoin.
That's like a really, really specific description.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Ballers, but there's somebody out there who's like, yes, that's it.
That's me, dude.
That's me, dude. I love Dogecoin. I love that show. But yeah, I mean, and then Dave Bautista, we rock with Dave.
And that's like a different situation where like, number one, he seems like just a great guy in real life.
Uses his platform for good at every turn.
Yeah. And very funny character in Guardians of the Galaxy, an otherwise good movie, but like, and he's gone kind of a different route where it's like, I legitimately want to be like an actor. I don't want to be to your point, it's like The Rock is the movie star, Dave Bautista is the actor. He's been in like Dune, obviously, and
fantastic
Blade Runner,
in Dune
2049. Just a great actor, great like stage presence or whatever you want to call it. Hulk Hogan has neither of those things though, which is why he arguably why he ended up just becoming a right-wing grifter.
Never stop to smell the roses.
I think we should get into rating Santa with Muscles.
Let's do it.
To remind the audience, our rating system is we either say, is this a hidden gem? Is this so bad it's good? Or is this a dumpster fire? And then occasionally we'll say it's somewhere in between those. But where would you rate this one?
Oh, man. I mean, what else could you rate it besides dumpster fire?
Strongly agree.
Definitely not so bad it's good. It's definitely not a hidden gem. Jesus.
No. This movie should stay hidden.
It's an orphanage fire, actually. It's set ablaze by kyber crystals. Man, what is there to say about this? I mean, there's some funny moments, like I was telling you off camera, like it's jerk chicken night. Maybe I'll just play those, or like I'll just send you those clips.
It's jerk chicken night.
Man, it was a chore. It is only an hour and a half long exactly, and boy does it feel it.
It feels like every minute of that hour and a half.
Yeah.
Strongly agree with the dumpster fire. I would say that if you had a more charismatic or comical person in the main role, if you didn't have Hulk Hogan in this movie, I do think this could be a passable kids flick. Like
maybe
I just watched I'll Be Home for Christmas with Jonathan Taylor Thomas the other night again. I loved it as a kid because it was funny to me, and I'm rewatching it as an adult, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't hold up, but it's like I can see why I enjoyed it as a kid. Same with like other shitty movies you love as a kid, like Inspector Gadget 2 was a movie that I enjoyed as a kid.
Yeah.
Dumb stuff. Master of Disguise, like dumb kids movies. If this movie had a better leading man, I can totally see this being a movie that I would enjoy as a kid. But even as a child, I can never imagine enjoying this film.
Yeah. There's no redeeming qualities about it. I don't know that like not having Hulk Hogan in it. I mean, it would definitely make it better. I don't know if it would make it like a classic kids movie. I think like the writing is just like
it's bad.
So bad. Like the story is incoherent, you know. But maybe with a different actor and like different like line delivery.
Well, that's what maybe. I don't think this would become a kids classic. I'm saying I think there are other kids movies that have bad scripts and a bad premise, and I bought them as kids. I think the uniquely bad thing about this movie is Hulk Hogan. It's the thing that makes this distinctly awful.
Who would be better in the role, you think?
Oh, that's a great question.
The easy answer is Arnold, but like,
yeah, you know, Arnold would kind of be, but even as a kid, I don't know if Arnold would be like my guy. I don't know. I can see this movie if it were a different era. I think I could see like a really funny like John Cena doing his thing in this role. To be honest, another wrestler guy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think John Cena would kind of kill this.
Yeah. Well, it was like what you were saying, like the Tooth Fairy, or like Vin Diesel's not a wrestler, but Vin
Diesel would be a good one for this.
Pacifier.
Yeah.
You know, like something like that.
This format's been done before.
Yeah.
It's been done well. It just requires you to have a really good leading guy.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about us, all that good stuff. And for those of you that are here now, thank you so much for 200 subscribers. That's awesome. Like, we've only been doing this for like 2 or 3 months, and the fact that we're already at 200 is like, to me, that's awesome.
The fame's going to my head, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have
going
groupies. We have stands, you know.
Getting honestly, like not being able to eat like at a restaurant without being recognized is getting taxing.
That's why I'm wearing this. It's a disguise. It's a more low key disguise.
I'm like walking around like New York City like Timothy Chalamet now.
Well, yeah, and and there's like those like haters who identify me for my tattoos as well, and they're like, I want to kill this guy. I've secured. You guys can't see it, but we have security behind the cameras as well.
We have some golden content over on Patreon. Shorter discussions, but really in-depth discussions on movies that we actually do enjoy. And so if you're like, man, I don't know what movie to watch next, you want to find like our true hidden gem, check it out there. Or if you just want to hear us ramble and yap about movies that we enjoy and movies we don't enjoy, check out the Patreon. We're dropping consistent, really good weekly content. You get your money's worth. So.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
Merry